Hey folks, David Stewart here. Let's talk a little bit more about Win More. I wrote a Substack article the other day called Win More, and basically it's about a lot of different strategies that I encounter out in the world that require a pre-existing amount of success. You are already winning, and the strategy helps you to win more. Now, I adopted this term, or stole it, from game theory. So maybe you've heard it with Magic the Gathering cards, or like Hearthstone cards, or in some other game where there's a strategy that you can do that requires you to already be in an advantageous position for it to be fully effective. Otherwise, it's either not effective or there's just not very much value in it. So you think of like a Magic the Gathering card like Ancient Ooze. Power and toughness is equal to the mana cost of all the creatures that you have on the board. Now that's great. It could be like a 40-40 creature. It requires you to already have a board absolutely stacked with high mana cost creatures, or just a bunch of low mana cost creatures, either one, for it to be its full value, because it's like an 8 mana card or something like that. Otherwise, if you have 2 creatures out, it doesn't help you come from behind. It's only valuable when you are already dominating the game. And there's a bunch of cards in that, cards like that in Magic the Gathering, the Maru cards. There's a lot of Win More cards. So ideally, you want a card that has its value whether you're behind or you're in the lead, that the value is always there for the mana cost. It's always going to be a useful and powerful card. So Win More strategies, I find, are presented a whole lot in the real world, especially in the world of finance, I have found. So one of the examples that I gave in the Substack article was Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's advice and his method is not a bad method, and it's good advice, but it is built into it an assumption that you are already economically successful. The strategy is something like, you're going to pay down your high interest debt, or you're going to save for emergencies. So if you're going to save however many, 6 months worth of expenses for emergencies. Then you're going to pay down your high interest debt. Then you're going to start attacking other debt according to the interest rate, because when you're paying interest, of course, that's like money you're lighting on fire, right? And so that's good advice. You want to get rid of your high interest debt. You want to have 6 months of expenses. What's built into that, though, is an assumption that you already have a pretty high income, that you have extra money and that you can put it to use. Okay, what do I do with my extra income? Do I buy a boat? No, you don't buy a boat. Instead, you pay down your debt. You save for a rainy day, and then you start paying down your debt. What about somebody who's like, I have $100,000 in student debt, and I'm making $35,000 a year? It's like, haha, get richer, right? It's a win more strategy. It's a strategy for people who are already high income, already in a successful and advantageous economic position, and for people who are really struggling with debt, like student debt or large credit card debts that they rang up when they were young and stupid. It really is not a helpful, it just doesn't have any use for them. They need a better paying job and lower expenses. Like, they need to move out of the city. They need a totally different set of advice in order to get to the point where Dave Ramsey's advice would actually be useful for them. And there's a lot of financial advice that falls in that category. It's like somebody who tells you what stocks to buy. Well, that assumes you have money to buy stocks and that you have extra money to invest in things. These are the best investments. Okay, yeah, that's great, but I need extra money to invest it, don't I? Right? So that only makes sense if you're already in a position where I have all this extra money, and what do I do with it? Okay. So a lot of financial advice falls into that category when so many people need just completely different advice, which is like, how do I begin winning? Not how do I win more, but how do I begin winning in life and in finances? Now, the focus of the article was really on independent publishing. I maybe should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video, because that's really what I want to talk about. Spend a lot of time on this channel talking about strategies that I hope are not win more strategies for selling your book, for publishing your book, for finding success as an independent author, or even as a traditionally published author, whatever you're trying to do in this world, or even as a musician, because there's still music content on this channel. I don't want win more strategies. I want, well, how do I begin? And so one of the things you'll find in what I call the author services industry, this is an industry of gurus who will sell you strategies, courses, software, book covers, editing services, all these things that go into making your book successful. So they sell those things, and there's a a pretty standard method that you'll see from a lot of gurus and a lot of courses. And before I detail that, let me point out that the people selling you author services are almost always making their money from author services. There's a lot more money in author services than in selling fiction books. If their method was that effective, they would just be selling books. They don't have any skin in the game, so they're not using their method. Rather, they're making their money by selling you an author services thing, and they also don't lose any money when their guru method doesn't work for you. Which for most people, they're not in a position to make it work because it's a win more strategy. So let me detail like the really standard procedure, which is you identify a micro niche, you identify a micro genre, a small niche that is full of avid readers that want to buy a lot of books, but there's not enough books published in that genre. You're going to use maybe a marketing service to figure that out, or you're going to use software like Publisher Rocket, which you'll buy, or you can hire an expert to maybe do some market research for you. Then you're going to write a long series in that micro genre, like 20 books. You're going to write a 20 book long soap opera series in that micro genre that heavily targets the tropes that the readers want. Then you're going to make the book really good. You're going to pay for the editing services. You're going to buy a great cover. You're maybe going to hire a copy editor to make, the sales copy for you, the blurb, and then you're going to advertise the crap out of it. And before you advertise it, you're going to take a couple of AdWords for authors or Amazon advertising for authors courses for a couple $1,000s. Maybe attend a convention that's got a whole bunch of seminars on how to manage your ads, how to search for the hundreds or thousands of keywords you will need in order for Amazon to actually show your ads to people. Because if you don't have those keywords worked out, your ads are going to be invisible to the people who are looking for things on Amazon. And if you don't have time for that, well, you can always hire for money. You can pay somebody to do all of that work for you, pay a promotion service to figure out all the keywords for you and promote the crap out of your book. You're going to advertise the heck out of book one, and the volume you're going to make up from all that advertising is people are going to buy book 1, book 2, all the way through book 20, and that's how you're going to make all of your big revenue. And then once you've really stepped on the gas, you can take your foot off the gas, and Amazon will sell your book for you. So you rank up your book up to number 1, number 2, really high ranking in your micro genre. Now, Amazon's changed a lot of this, so this advice is probably outdated by the time you're watching this, and that is fine. In fact, maybe even good. But anyway, you could take your foot off the advertising gas, and Amazon will continue to sell your book for you. You rank your book up, and then once that book is ranked up, you are going to sell a ton of books. Now, the problem is this is a win more strategy from beginning to end. I mentioned a step in there, forgot a step. You got to get reviews for your book. Okay. So it's like new authors. How do I get reviews for my book? It's like, that's the neat thing. You don't. It's really hard to get reviews. It's the hardest part of this entire process is getting someone to read your book and then leave a review on Amazon so that there's a small amount of social proof on your product. The reviews are really the most important social proof for anything that you're selling. So the problem with this strategy is not that it doesn't work, but it's a win more strategy. Aside from other problems like, I don't want to write a 20 book long soap opera series in a micro genre that I've targeted using marketing techniques. I want to write books that I care about, right? So I don't want to win at the game that they set up. Here's a game to win. I want to win at the game that I'm trying to win, which is writing good books. Anyway, and I hope that you're trying to win that game too. And I know most authors, that's the game that they're wanting to win. They're not just wanting to make money as an author. They're wanting to be successful as an author doing what they love, writing the things that they love to write, rather than the things that the robot will show to people and will try to get people to buy. So yeah, first step, you need money to buy the software to figure out the micro genre. You need money to hire editors to kind of edit all of your books, especially if you're a new author. Your writing's going to suck. You actually will probably need that editing service to make your book not suck enough that people will buy it and review it. You're going to need to shell out $1,000 for a cover. A good, well-designed cover with good art, maybe a painted cover, depending on your genre. You're going to need to shell out money for the AdWords course, or you're going to need to pay a lot of money for an advertising service to advertise on your behalf. You're going to need to spend thousands of dollars on advertising, and somehow you're going to have to get reviews, or the advertising money will just go down the drain. It'll just burn up. So you're going to have to buy those reviews, is what a lot of it's a dirty little secret. Authors, I've never done it. I've never paid for a review in my life, but lots of authors do. So if you see a new author, their book pops out and all of a sudden they have 10 reviews, and you look at those reviews and there's not a whole lot of information in those reviews, the chances are they purchased the reviews. So it's just how it is. I'm sorry, but lots of authors will just buy reviews. So you're going to have to pay a bunch of money for a service that will have their Amazon accounts leave a review, buy the product and then leave a review for you to get that social proof. Maybe even pay a reviewer to do a real review for your book. You'll have to spend hours and hours cold emailing people, asking them to read your book. I get cold emails from people asking me to review their book. And I usually don't respond. I just block the person that sent it to me. I never want to receive a cold email asking me to review a book. And in fact, if I get one of those, it's going to destroy any chance for that author to ever have a relationship with me, a professional relationship with me. I hate stuff like that personally, right? I want reviews from readers, and you do too. You don't want fake ass reviews, but that's the reality. You're going to have to pay money for that. You're going to have to pay money for all of the ads once you start advertising, and you can't spend $20 a month. You got to spend a lot of money if you want to rank that book up, thousands of dollars per month in order to rank the book up. So what am I getting at here, right? You want to be a successful indie author and you want to use the Guru strategy, you better have $30,000 in the bank to publish your book, baby, because all of those services are going to cost you a lot of money. And a lot of authors jump into this and they get sucked in by these gurus, not realizing that it's a win more strategy. And then they start doing the things and they realize it's costing them a ton of money. Their savings are evaporating and they still can't get reviews. They can't get anyone to review the book. They can't get anyone to read the book. The strategies aren't working. They flush money down the toilet. I don't want that, Yeah, that strategy works for people who have already built up a readership. Let's think about, where do you begin? What is step one? What is step zero? Instead of winning more, how do you just begin winning? So here's a couple of basic strategies for beginning winning. How do you attract an audience that might be interested in your product? Well, you don't have to spend a ton of money on advertising, but that is an option. If you want to spend your money on the Guru method, go for it. Hire those gurus, spend as much money as you want. It's up to you. Some people have that disposable income. A lot of the people that I'm thinking of don't. We're working people, we're starting out. Maybe you're young, you're just out of college. You don't have a big pile of cash to just spend on a vanity project, right? You need to do this for real. And you need to figure out how to do it on the cheap. So I provide a lot of information for that. I have tons of videos on how to design your book covers or, basic marketing strategies. But we'll start here, which is the basic social media strategy for finding an audience. Works something like this. You figure out what your book is and what kind of people are going to like your book, right? Either you can write to market or you can write according to your heart, but you have to figure out what kind of people are going to be interested in that book. Then you have to figure out what kind of content those people are going to read. For nonfiction, it's really easy. If you write a diet book, you just write articles on how you diet and make videos on how to diet, and then people buy your diet book, or hopefully go even deeper into your services funnel and then hire you as a consultant to make their diet for them, right? But a lot of us are fiction writers, and selling with content is still the cheapest and most effective strategy long-term for you. So you're going to figure out what those readers like, and you're going to make content that is relevant to those readers. So if you want lots of attention, negative content. If you want to make great relationships with people, it's positive content. And I think the 5-to-1 ratio works for content creation as well as like receiving things. You're going to need a lot of positive content to offset any kind of negativity that you get out in the social media world. And I know this from a certain amount of experience is like it's difficult to just create that barrier and be like, it's not affecting me. The fact that I had 1,000 people leave hateful comments towards me on like a single day, right? Or over the course of months and months and months. I get a lot of hate online, and it's fine because I know how to create that separation, but also I've created a lot of more better relationships, I guess, over the years. So my positive to negative is probably 5-to-1, so those 5 positive interactions will offset that 1 negative interaction that happens. And so you should probably kind of think of that as a good ratio, is that you make, let's say you're writing a fantasy book. Now, I didn't make this content because I just, for my own spirit, I couldn't do that this time around. You can make content on like why Rings of Power sucks, right? You're going to attract some people who agree with you and some people who are going to strongly disagree with you. Now, the people who agree with you might watch your follow-up video on like the 10 things I love about Fellowship of the Ring or something, or whatever things that you think are relevant for them. And then that's going to create the more positive interaction and develop like a better relationship where they'll be willing to buy your book because they feel like you really know them, the things that they like. And this works not just with literature, but with music, right? Like they get the idea that, you really like the same music as me. I'll listen to your band. Oh, your band totally does sound like the stuff you love, and it's cool. It's a cool band, right? So you can find a lot of your audience through that content method. So content advertising is probably the most effective long-term. It's the cheapest, it's free, it builds your audience, it sells your book. It's like the best way to do it. The other thing to do is you can start developing relationships with other creators. Like for me, that's mainly Twitter is where I develop my relationships with other creators, not really YouTube, because I just don't consume a lot of YouTube content that's similar to mine or kind of in the same lane as me really at all. That's just the way I am. I use YouTube as a user, and I don't want to spend time watching content I'm not interested in. I don't have the time for it. So developing content directly through YouTube doesn't really happen a lot for me, but mostly on Twitter, right? Now you have to understand that other authors are not your audience. So if you go on Twitter and you start following other authors, that's not going to help you sell your book. However, they might have people who follow them who might have some kind of resonance with you. So you can attract them by basically doing the same thing that you would do in your blog or on YouTube. And you're going to share your blog on Twitter or Facebook or wherever you're going, wherever you like to spend your time with social media, engaging with people. There's no or it could be Minds or whatever you want to do. So wherever you like to be, that's probably where you should be. And you'll have a more fun time with it than if you hate Twitter, going on Twitter because you heard other authors are on Twitter. I like Twitter because it's just like chaos. It's an explosion of information. But even I have to turn off Twitter and do something else. So it's whatever, it's wherever you like to develop those relationships. Eventually, you'll get enough people that they will want to read your book. And if they read your book, you can ask them to review it on Amazon. You could totally do that. As long as they read the book, they can review it on Amazon. And you can give your book away to people and ask them to review it on Amazon. And they often will, out of a sense of gratitude or just because they like you. And that's great. That's how you're going to get those initial 5 to 10 reviews that are going to provide enough social proof for somebody who doesn't know you, who sees your book on Amazon or somewhere else out in the wild, will look at those reviews and think about whether they want to buy the book based on, other people that are like me like this book, therefore I'll buy it. Okay, so that's how you begin winning. Is you find the audience by interacting with them, right? You use social media to be social. And if you're not going to use social media, it's harder, right? You can find audience members at conventions. And in fact, maybe I should do more of that. I've been thinking about how conventions usually are a waste of money, but because you could just spend that money on ads or something, right? And probably get more sales. But it's not the same, right? When you go to a convention, you're there with other creators and you're there with people who might like your book, and you're developing, you're meeting a human being and initiating some kind of relationship with a human being, which is going to be helpful. So yeah, maybe I should spend more time going to conventions, but it's not going to be on the same level as social media. That's just how it is. So when it comes to building a social media audience, that's kind of how you do it. You have to interact with people. If you are following me on Twitter, you'll notice that I do certain things when I interact with people, and I'm just going to tell you how to do it, which is you quote tweet people. Now, mostly people quote tweet. When you quote tweet, who are you talking to? It's you quote tweet someone to talk to your audience. Now, I will quote tweet someone to my audience for a person that I think they should pay attention to, an idea that they should pay attention to. Even if it's me dunking on someone, it's like, hey, pay attention to what this thing is, my audience. A reply is to that person and their audience. So you want to reply and you want to quote tweet. You want to do both, okay? You don't want to just stick to one or the other. If you don't have a lot of audience yet, you need to get in replies and talk to the other people that are like you, and they will follow you. And as you build up a few followers, then you can start pulling that stuff in, making threads, giving information, selling your book, saying, man, if you like this, you're going to like my book. It's like, this is why I wrote my book like this, right? Twitter can be great like that because you can talk to two different audiences in that way. With replies, you talk to the poster's audience. And if you, by the way, Twitter's called X now. If you're watching this in the future, on X, if you want to talk to your audience, that pulls, then you're asking that basically you can get that creator with a positive quote tweet. You can get them to interact with your audience, and you kind of mix and you both kind of build up your audiences so you both have one audience, and you just kind of expand that outward until like your core group of friends on Twitter end up all having one big audience that you have in common. And that's really good. That's a lot of friendships you can make, a lot of relationships, and an audience that you can build on. So that's how you start winning. That's like square one. And the hard part, of course, is making interesting content. But like I said, think about what the audience that you are courting is interested in. If you have a book that's a lot similar to Star Wars, then, make content about Star Wars. Why not? If you have a book that's really similar to Lord of the Rings, it's a fantasy book, you can make content about that, whatever it's going to be. So you kind of piggyback on the popularity of things that already exist. Analysis content, just fan content, fan theories are really popular for videos and articles. It's like you can make a video on like the truth about Galadriel or something, and you'll probably get some views. In fact, I should probably make that video. Did you know Galadriel is Arwen's grandma? She's a grandma. She's Gimli's into the grandma. Anyway, so there's some ideas for where to begin. And then try things that I'm not talking about. Do other things too. There's no wrong way to begin. You can build an audience on Wattpad. Right? I don't use that, but that's a place that you can start. So all the Amazon strategies require you to already have an audience in tow that is willing to support you. It's really hard to begin that. I can't tell you that my strategies are going to work 100%. They're just suggestions. You can try them out. If they don't work, sorry, at least you didn't put money into it, right? I'm not asking you for money for this advice. I'm just trying to help you find the people that are interested in your product, and help other people succeed. That's what I care about. Anyway, I'm going to sell my book at the end here, The Keys to Prolific Creativity. You can find it linked down below. It's on Amazon. You can get the audiobook from Amazon, or you can get the audiobook free here for being a member of the channel. So you get that free, or you can get it for free by joining my patreon.com/David V. Stewart. And don't forget to check out my music only, no talkie channel, youtube.com/@ZulOnline, ZUL online. And you can check that out. Mostly now you're going to hear like all my experimental improvisational stuff, working on ambient rock and instrumental rock, looping, all the weird things that I do. You can kind of get a glimpse into that process, as well as listen to the past Zul albums, which are a little more, I guess, thoroughly constructed and produced. So you can enjoy all of that on that channel. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for listening to this rather long video on Win More and publishing. Hope it'll be informative and that you can find some success out there. It's very hard, but I don't want anybody to like lose their ass in this business. That's the main thing. Is like, let's find some ways that don't require you to win more, but to just start winning. And then later you can decide if you want to do the win more strategy, but let's start with a win first. Okay. So take it easy, guys. Have a good one. And I will see you all next time.